Hello, I'm Del Bartling, and I certainly hope that you, and of course yours, are having yourself a sunnier, warmer day. Yes, the older I am, the more that I think. And I think that people do what people see. And that comes forth in a book I revisited. And there was a person that this book was about. And this person was a coach. Now, no, they weren't a football coach such as Tom Osborne for Nebraska, or they weren't a baseball coach like, say, Yogi Berra was for the Yankees. No, this coach was a basketball coach, and he was a coach that was born in Indiana, and he was raised on a farm there. Now, Indiana, as you may know, is very much a very strong basketball state there. Remember Bobby Knight? Well, the book's not about him. This gentleman then, growing up during the Depression time, his folks, like other people, during that time period, they lost the farm and they had to move to town. And so the young man, in going to school, went to a public school. There was, of course, his brother and his sister. And when World War II came, he joined. After finished public school, he went on to college. And again, it was interrupted by the military. But then after he graduated from the military, then did his tour, he then came back, finished college, and then started teaching in a high school, taught English. But along with that, then he took on coaching. And he mentions that his first year of coaching basketball wasn't the best, that he did learn a lot from the players, as well as the assistant coaches there. He did not give up, and so that he later taught in college and then went on to bigger college. He became one of the most winning coaches out there. I'm speaking of this coach that then took some of the principles that he learned on that little farm in Indiana. He took them as, let's say, a axiom that he just lived by, and he exhibited that to his players, regardless if it was high school or small college or big college. And speaking of, and the book is entitled Coach Wooden. Coach Wooden, coach of UCLA. Remember, used to be a player when he first started, went by the name of Lou Alcindor. Coach Wooden was his coach. As I say, and it covers the 7 principles that shaped the lives of his players. Indeed, it did. You know, as I said, people do what people see. In fact, if you ask LaDonna, she would say she lives by the law of pictures. I can't tell you how many times I'll give an explanation, and I'll go through a little bit of a litany of an explanation to her, and she will then come back and say, I have to see it. You're going to have to show me. So, as I said, this young man who grew up in Indiana brought forth these principles, and he knew that he was be using a power that would be entrusted to him. And with that power came a tremendous amount of responsibility. And the interesting thing, folks, that power that was then put upon Coach Wooden, that same power you have. Yes, you do. You have it. I have it. We all have it. Now, speaking of the power of example, the power of example. Can you think of maybe some different ways of samples of using the power of example? It's been said, it's been attributed to Sister Teresa. And also, I think there's St. Francis of Assisi. But it goes like this. Go forth and preach the gospel. Go forth and preach the gospel. And if necessary, use words. Use words. And just reflect upon the work of Sister Teresa and how she used the power of example and knew the responsibility of the power of example. I think of my father, who I brought up more than once, Sergeant Major Bartling. Now, here was a small little town of Bridgewater, South Dakota. Joined the Army when he was a young man. Did not finish high school. Got his GID. But I think all through his career, he took it as a career, that he took that power of example, as being a big responsibility. You see, I can remember in our household, never once did I ever hear them talk about, let's call it a whining way in regards to the earnings that they were making. To me, Sergeant Major Bartling took on his career with the U.S. Army as being a covenant relationship. He had made a covenant with the U.S. Army. And so that power of example that I can remember, income wasn't at the top of the list. And as I reflect on my 50 plus years, I don't think that earnings or income has been at the top of my list. Many times I'll hear from other associates speak of earnings or things like this in regards to money, and I don't think I bring it up. It's just, again, a power of example that I have taken on as being what makes me. I can remember being a scout leader and taking LaDonna's van, and we were going on a camping excursion. And during that time, one of the scouts brought up and asked, "What's that on the dash right there?" And I said, "Well, Joey, that's a radar detector." And of course, he inquired of what it was for. He knew what it was for, and he didn't ask point blank, "Where's that in the scout law?" Well, he had me, folks. My power of example was not a positive one. But I can tell you this, the next time and other times that we used LaDonna's van and drove, there was not a radar detector in the van at all. Sometimes power of examples are just because they are. You've heard me say the story before of Grandma's ham, where Grandma's tradition would be the one who would bring the ham during the resurrection celebration when the family come together. Someone kind of new there, an in-law, a new daughter-in-law, brought up the ham because Grandma had it in, what I'd call scored, the checks on it, had the peppercorns in it, had the pineapple on it, had the glaze on it, and it did taste good. And it still had the bone in it. Well, someone says, "Well, man, this is delicious." This daughter-in-law brought up and says, "Grandma, what's your recipe?" And another one piped up before Grandma could and says, "Well, she always cuts the butt off. You gotta cut the butt off. Whenever I cook at home and use Grandma's recipe, I cut the butt off." And like that, and says, and another one, of course, then endorsed that. "Yes, that was the way. That's the way Grandma did it, and that's the way that we do it. And that's why it tastes so good." Well, finally, Grandma couldn't take it anymore. And she said, No, child. The reason I cut the butt off is my pan is only so big. I've got to then make sure it's going to fit into the pan. That's why I cut the butt off. So sometimes some power examples are done and we don't know really why that we do it. Example, in the mornings when I have my poached egg, I put some vinegar in it. Why? That's the way it's done. When I cook my spaghetti, I put a bay leaf in it. But I always take the bay leaf off because, you're not supposed to eat a bay leaf. Have I ever eaten a bay leaf? No, because it's always been the power example that you always took the bay leaf out of the spaghetti there. So I'm sure that you could probably think of different powers of example that maybe you've done. Over the years as we got married 50 plus years ago, one of the things that I grew up with was then records, the use of records. We had the record player, and there would be times that on a weekend or certain time, I would then lay out different albums and then start to play maybe certain songs, maybe not the whole album, maybe not the B-side, of course, but some of those songs then would be playing on the record player, and that'd be my playlist there. And you know what? That power of example, then our son collects record albums. He probably has in his possession well over probably 6,000 records. Because I know right here, folks, we still got, yes, we're in that baby boom phase where there are still some things that the kids have in our home that maybe we wish at times that they would take to their own home. But we have well over 3,000 records here. He's got at least that much or more at his home with his family in New Jersey. The power of example. Getting back to Coach Wooden, he continually gave the power of example. Again, he would say to his players, don't tell me, show me. He showed them each and every season how to tie their shoes. Yes, he did. He showed them and got down and actually showed them how to tie their shoes to prevent blisters, of course. That was his credo, to actually be that power of example. Look at some things here that he said on the term action. He said, be quick, but don't hurry. Never mistake activity for achievement. How many applications did you write, insurance salesman? Oh, I saw 20 people. That wasn't the question. How many applications did you write? And it isn't what you do, but how you do it. It's what you learn after you know it all that counts. It's what you learn after you think you know it all. That's what really, really counts. On money, don't let making a living prevent you from making a life. And his well-known definition of success. Success is peace of mind, which is a direct result of self-satisfaction in knowing that you made the effort to become the best of which you are capable. That's quite a definition of success. I felt so strong about this book, and as I read it, and reread it, again in the power of example, I formed a book club. Yes, I did. I formed a book club so my associates, I would give the book to one associate, and then they would need to give it, when it was read, to another one. And it started in August of 2016, and it went to the last associate in November of 2016. Power of example. So yes, it is there. It's inherent. Each one of us has that power of example. But along with that comes that responsibility of how we're using the power of example. As you and yours go out there and enjoy that sunnier, warmer day, keep in mind the power of example. Reflect on how the power of example has made you on who you are. And remember this, I'm rooting for you. Yes, I am, because yes, we are in this together. And lest I forget, blessed are they who ease the pain of misfortune, for they shall be called insurance agents. You take care now.